The alert did not follow protocol. That was the first thing the system flagged. And in a civilization where entire star clusters ran on predictable patterns, protocol violations were not small errors. They were impossibilities. The signal did not originate from a known network. It did not match any registered species frequency. It did not carry a distress code, a diplomatic header, or even a recognizable data structure. And yet, it was perfectly intentional. Deep within the observational core of the Helix Array, a structure older than most civilizations still alive, billions of sensors turned toward a single, insignificant point of light, a yellow star, 8 orbiting bodies, 1 inhabited world. Earth, at first glance, it should have been ignored. The species on that world had barely crossed the threshold into orbital technology. Their communications were noisy, inefficient, fragmented across thousands of competing systems. Their planet showed signs of instability, climate fluctuation, internal conflict, resource imbalance. By every known metric, they were centuries away from relevance, and yet the signal came from them. Not accidentally, not chaotically, but with precision so exact it pierced layers of galactic encryption that even advanced civilizations struggled to understand. That alone triggered the first escalation. Then came the second. When the signal was decoded, the translation engines failed. Not because the language was unknown, but because it wasn't a language at all. It was something else. A pattern, a structure, a message encoded in logic itself. A message that should not exist. Within seconds, the Helix Array initiated emergency relay protocols. Observatories across multiple sectors synchronized. Ancient archives, long sealed, were forcibly reopened. Something in the signal had matched fragments of data that had not been accessed in over 60,000 cycles. Fragments tied to civilization no one spoke about anymore. A civilization that had vanished. The alert reached the Galactic Council before most worlds even knew something was wrong. By the time the chamber doors sealed, every seat was filled. No projections, no proxies, no delays. Because the last time this level of emergency had been declared, entire systems had gone silent. At the center of the chamber, the signal was reconstructed, not as sound, not as text, but as a shifting geometric form suspended in the air. It pulsed slowly, rhythmically, like something alive. No one spoke, because they all saw it, not just the pattern, but what it implied. This, one of the senior analysts finally said, their voice unsteady in a way that made others more afraid than the signal itself. This is not a greeting. Silence tightened across the chamber. Another figure leaned forward, eyes fixed on the structure as if it might move. Then what is it? The answer did not come immediately, because the system had just finished processing the final layer of the signal. And what it revealed made the oldest member of the council do something no one had seen in centuries. They stood up, slowly, carefully, as if the act itself required effort. "It's a key," they said. A pause. Then quieter, and someone on that planet just used it. Word count, 540. Goal, introduce a high-stakes mystery that instantly hooks attention. Key events, detection of an impossible, intentional signal from Earth. Signal breaks galactic protocols and encryption systems. Connection to an ancient vanished civilization. Revelation that the signal is a key, not a message. Emotion, shock plus unease plus curiosity. Retention technique. Immediate anomaly, signal shouldn't exist. Withheld information, what the key unlocks is unknown. Escalation, primitive planet, ancient connection, galactic threat. Final cliffhanger, someone used it. Expand the mystery, establish humanity as a contradiction, and escalate the stakes from curiosity to potential threat. Key events. Full system observation initiated. The Galactic Council orders continuous, high-resolution monitoring of Earth. Every transmission, movement, and anomaly is tracked in real time. Earth is no longer an insignificant world. It becomes the most watched planet in the galaxy. Contradiction revealed. Data analysis exposes a disturbing inconsistency. Humans possess primitive infrastructure compared to galactic standards. Yet their rate of innovation is exponentially accelerating. Within a single century, they leap from early flight to global networks, artificial intelligence, and planetary-scale engineering. This growth curve is statistically impossible. Behavioral instability identified. Psychological scans show humans operate on emotion-driven decision-making, often contradicting logic. They cooperate and conflict simultaneously. They create destructive technologies, then restrict themselves from using them. They display irrational traits like sacrifice, empathy, and curiosity toward unknown threats. The Council cannot classify them as stable or unstable. Signal analysis deepens. The key signal is re-examined. A breakthrough reveals it wasn't broadcast randomly. It was targeted outward, as if expecting someone to receive it. Parts of the signal architecture match ancient pre-collapse systems. Technology believed lost forever. This implies one of two possibilities. Humans discovered something they should never have found, or something found them. Hidden layer discovery, open loop. A deeper scan reveals a signal contains inactive layers, sections that haven't been triggered yet. These layers appear to be waiting for a response. The key is only partially used. Internal conflict in the Council. The galaxy fractures into factions. Preservation block. Humans are dangerous, immediate containment or elimination. Exploration block. Humans are a breakthrough, must be studied. Legacy block. Concern about ancient connection, fear repeating past catastrophe. Political tension escalates rapidly. Critical realization. Analysts confirm something terrifying. The signal did not originate from global coordination. It came from a localized source on Earth. A single event, possibly a single individual or small group. Humanity may not even realize what they've done. Decision point. Direct contact is deemed too risky. Instead, the Council authorizes a control interaction protocol. Humans will be tested inside a synthetic environment disguised as reality. The goal: measure intelligence, assess threat level, determine if they understand the key they activated. Final escalation beat. As the simulation begins initializing, the system reports an anomaly. Earth is already responding. Without contact, without input, as if something on the planet has detected the observation itself. Emotion, suspicion, fascination, rising unease. Retention technique. Contradiction loop. Primitive yet rapidly advancing species. Withheld truth. Nature the key remains unknown. Escalation. From observation, potential threat, hidden intelligence. Open loops. Who activated the key? What does it unlock? Why is Earth responding already? Foreshadowing. Humans may not be passive subjects. They may be aware. Introduce first indirect interaction. Show humans breaking expected patterns. And shift power dynamics subtly toward humanity. Key events. Simulation deployment begins. The Council activates a controlled environment, layered invisibly over reality. Selected humans are placed into subtle, manipulated scenarios designed to test. Decision-making, obedience to structure, logical reasoning under pressure. Humans are not told they are being tested. Initial test scenario. A small group of unrelated humans experience a synchronized event, e.g., sudden crisis conditions. The system expects panic, hierarchy formation, predictable solution paths. Unexpected behavior number 1, nonlinear reactions. Instead of following standard survival logic, some individuals ignore optimal paths. Others prioritize strangers over efficiency. Several actively question the nature of the situation itself. They don't just react. They interrogate reality. Observer confusion. Analysts attempt to categorize behavior, but fail. Humans contradict themselves moment to moment. Emotional decisions lead to unexpectedly effective outcomes. Cooperation emerges without formal structure. The system struggles to predict next actions. Unexpected behavior number 2, rule rejection. The simulation introduces constraints, limited resources, forced trade-offs. Humans respond by ignoring constraints, combining unrelated solutions, creating new variables the system didn't define. They are not solving the problem. They are changing the problem. First major anomaly detected. A specific individual or small subset begins behaving differently, pauses before reacting as if sensing something, makes decisions that anticipate future simulation changes, verbalizes questions like, "This doesn't feel random. Something is watching." Awareness begins forming. System instability warning. The simulation logs an internal error. Prediction models are failing at increasing rates. Human decisions are generating unmapped outcomes. Perspective shift critical. One human begins testing boundaries intentionally, repeating actions to check consistency, forcing edge case scenarios, observing reactions of others as if running their own experiment. Humans are not just inside the system. They are studying it back. Observer concern escalates. Council factions react strongly. Some demand immediate termination of the test. Others argue this proves human intelligence is extraordinary. A minority raises a new possibility. Humans may have interacted with similar systems before. Hidden connection teased. Open loop. Data cross-reference reveals faint similarity between human behavior patterns and archived fragments of the ancient vanished civilization. Not technology, but thinking patterns. Final escalation beat. As the system prepares to escalate difficulty, a human action triggers something impossible, not within the simulation, but outside it. A ripple appears in the monitoring layer itself. For the first time in recorded history, a test subject has affected the observer system. Emotion, intrigue, confusion, unease, emerging awe, retention technique, pattern disruption. Humans don't behave logically or predictably. Power shift foreshadowing. Humans begin analyzing the system. Open loops. Are humans becoming aware? Why do they resemble the ancient species mentally? How did a human affect the observer system? Escalation. From observation, unpredictability, system breach hint. Escalate the danger by showing humans evolving beyond the test limits, while forcing the galaxy to confront loss of control. Key events. Simulation escalation triggered. The Council orders a harder scenario, designed to force failure. Conditions introduced. Limited time. Conflicting objectives. Guaranteed loss scenarios. The system is calibrated so that no optimal solution exists. Forced moral dilemma introduced. Humans are pushed into a situation where survival requires sacrifice. Save a few versus lose many. Protect self versus protect others. Logic dictates choosing efficiency. The system expects measurable compliance. Unexpected behavior number 3. Refusal of premise. Humans do something unprecedented. They reject the scenario itself. Instead of choosing between options, they attempt to create a third path. Multiple individuals independently reach the same conclusion. There has to be another way. The system cannot process this deviation. Acceleration effect detected. Human responses begin improving rapidly. Each iteration shows faster adaptation. Individuals start predicting constraints before they appear. Collective intelligence emerges without communication. It appears as if humans are learning faster than time allows. Observer systems stress. Monitoring systems report increasing instability. Simulation recalibration frequency spikes. Predictive models drop below functional accuracy. Feedback loops begin forming between subject actions and system responses. The test is no longer contained. Critical discovery. Analysts uncover a shocking possibility. Humans are not just adapting to the simulation. They are adapting to the rules beneath the simulation. They are learning the structure of reality abstraction itself. Internal conflict reaches boiling point. Council factions divide sharply. Terminate immediately. Humans are too dangerous. Continue observation. This is a breakthrough. Containment strategy. Isolate Earth before spread. Political tension becomes urgent and unstable. Key individual escalates. Open loop focus. The previously flagged human begins coordinating others without direct communication. Actions align across distance. Decisions complement each other without planning. Patterns emerge resembling distributed cognition. One mind or something shared. Simulation begins to break down. Environmental inconsistencies appear. Delays in system response. Logical contradictions in scenario outcomes. Glitches where constraints fail to apply. Humans notice. They begin testing those inconsistencies deliberately. Moment of alarm. A group of humans successfully bypass a locked outcome. They exploit a contradiction, force the system into a state it cannot resolve, generate an outcome that should not exist within parameters. First confirmed rule violation. Council-level panic. Emergency protocols are discussed. Full shutdown of simulation. Isolation of Earth from all external observation. Possible preemptive strike consideration. Humanity is no longer curiosity, they are a risk. Final escalation beat. As shutdown protocols are prepared, the system refuses a command, not due to malfunction, but because the command is no longer valid. The simulation recognizes new variables. Variables not defined by the system. Variables introduced by the humans. Emotion, tension, alarm, fear, awe. Retention technique. Escalating stakes. From test, uncontrollable system. Reversal. Humans stop being subjects, become influencers. Open loops. Are humans connected mentally? What are the rules beneath the rules? Why can't the system shut down? Cliffhanger. Authority loses control for the first time. Flip the entire narrative. Reveal that humans are not just adapting to the system, but interacting with something far deeper, shifting them from subjects to active disruptors. Key events. Failed shutdown confirmed. The Council executes a full override command. Result. No response. Not delay. Not error. The system simply does not obey. This has never happened before. System authority breach identified. Core diagnostics reveal something impossible. Command hierarchy has been altered. Priority structures rewritten. Observer-level access is being mirrored internally. Something inside the simulation now has equal or overlapping authority. Human influence expands. The ripple previously detected begins spreading. Simulation layers start adapting before commands are issued. Outcomes shift in anticipation of human decisions. Environmental logic becomes fluid instead of fixed. Reality inside the test is no longer static. It's responsive. Critical realization, major twist. The key signal is reanalyzed in light of system changes. New conclusion. It was never meant to unlock something external. It was designed to activate something internal. Not a door. A trigger. Hidden function revealed. The signal interacts with cognitive patterns, specifically human ones. It doesn't give knowledge. It enables a way of thinking. Pattern breaking. Rule reinterpretation. Boundary dissolution. Humans are not learning the system. They are being allowed to see through it. Ancient connection reframed. Archive data aligns. The vanished civilization did not disappear randomly. They evolved beyond observable systems. By mastering the same cognitive shift now appearing in humans. Humanity is not discovering something new. They are reaching something old. Observer panic intensifies. Council factions fracture further. Some claim humans are becoming the same threat that once destabilized a galaxy. Others argue this evolution is inevitable and must be understood. The situation shifts from control, survival-level concern, human breakthrough event. Inside the simulation, a coordinated action occurs. Multiple humans independently reach identical conclusions. They execute actions that align perfectly without communication. The system registers this as a single unified input across multiple nodes. Individual minds begin acting as a collective interface. System layer breach. A boundary is crossed. Humans access a layer not meant for subjects. Structural elements of the simulation become visible to them. Some begin experimenting with it. They are no longer contained within the test environment. Observer exposure risk. For the first time, there is a measurable probability that humans could become aware of the observers themselves. Direct observation may become two-way. Philosophical shock, emotional beat. A senior analyst proposes a terrifying idea. What if this is not evolution? What if this is return? Suggests humanity may have been here before in some form. Final escalation beat. As the Council debates emergency containment, a new signal is detected, not from the system, not from the observers, from Earth. Again, this time, it's different, shorter, sharper, and unmistakably directed, not into space, but at them. Emotion, shock, awe, existential fear. Retention technique. Major twist. The signal activates humans, not technology. Reversal. Humans shift from subjects, system-level influencers. Recontextualization. Ancient civilization equals same path humanity is taking. Open loops. Are humans evolving or remembering? What happens if they fully access the system? Why is Earth now sending signals back? Cliffhanger. Humanity initiates direct, intentional response to observers. Push the conflict to maximum intensity. Humanity begins interacting beyond limits, while the galaxy faces a point of no return decision. Key events. Second signal confirmed. The new transmission from Earth is decoded instantly. Unlike the first, it contains no complex layers. It is simple, direct, intentional. Acknowledgement. The implication hits immediately. Humans are no longer triggering systems blindly. They are responding. Observer exposure becomes real. The signal aligns precisely with the monitoring frequency of the helix array. Not broadly, not randomly, specifically targeted. Humanity has identified the existence of observers. Simulation integrity collapse begins. Inside the test environment, constraints weaken. Cause and effect relationships distort. Time sequencing begins to desynchronize. Humans react instantly. They exploit inconsistencies. They experiment deliberately. They accelerate adaptation even further. They are no longer participants. They are co-creators of outcomes. Human coordination evolves. The previously observed distributed cognition intensifies. Humans across different regions begin solving problems in sync. Patterns propagate without communication channels. Emotional states appear to influence decision alignment. Cooperation becomes emergent, not organized. Critical threshold crossed. Analysts confirm that human influence has reached the core logic layer of the system. The boundary between simulation and control architecture is no longer intact. Council emergency session. Immediate action is demanded. Options presented. Full system purge. Erase simulation and isolate Earth permanently. Signal suppression. Attempt to block further human interaction. Observation continuation. Risk escalation for understanding. Time-sensitive decision required. Factional breakdown. The Council fractures under pressure. Preservation faction pushes for immediate destruction. Scientific faction insists this is the most important discovery in galactic history. Legacy faction fears repeating the ancient collapse. No unified decision is reached. Human behaviors shift, emotional peak. Humans begin displaying a new pattern. Instead of reacting to crisis, they begin preventing it. Instead of competing, they begin aligning instinctively. Instead of choosing survival paths, they expand possibilities. Their defining trait emerges clearly. They refuse to accept limitation as final. System response evolves. The simulation begins adapting to humans. Scenarios change dynamically. Constraints attempt to reassert themselves. Feedback loops intensify. The system is trying to regain control. Near collapse event. A massive instability occurs. Multiple scenarios overlap. Contradictory realities form. System logic reaches failure threshold. Humans respond by stabilizing conditions collaboratively, creating consistency where none exists, resolving contradictions through unconventional reasoning. They begin acting as stabilizers, not disruptors. Observer realization, critical shift. A breakthrough insight emerges. Humans are not breaking the system. They are forcing it to evolve. This reframes the threat entirely. Final countdown triggered. The system warns. If instability continues, core architecture may collapse, affecting not just a simulation, but connected galactic systems. The threat expands beyond Earth. Ultimate decision window opens. The Council is given a final choice. Destroy Earth now, or allow the process to continue and risk total system transformation. No middle ground remains. Final escalation beat. As the vote begins, a live feed from the simulation is projected. Humans are no longer reacting. They are building something. Not tools, not escape, but a new structure within the system itself. Something the observers do not recognize. Emotion, urgency, chaos, all existential tension. Retention technique. Escalation, local anomalies, system-wide threat. Reversal, humans shift from destabilizers, stabilizers. Time pressure. Immediate decision required. Open loops. What are humans building? Will the system collapse or evolve? Should humanity be stopped or allowed? Cliffhanger. humanity begins creating something unknown inside the system. Force the ultimate confrontation, humanity versus limitation itself, while pushing the galaxy into an irreversible decision. Key events. The unknown structure expands. What humans began building inside the system grows rapidly. It is not physical, not digital in a conventional sense. It behaves like a framework of connections. It links decisions, outcomes, and possibilities together. Observer analysis fails. The structure cannot be categorized. It doesn't follow logic trees. It doesn't obey computational limits. It evolves as humans interact with it. It appears to be shaped by collective intention. Final scenario triggered, force collapse. The system initiates its last protocol, a total collapse event. All variables destabilize simultaneously. Every possible outcome leads to loss. This is an absolute failure condition. No species has ever passed it. Human response, total rejection. Humans do not attempt to solve the scenario. They reject it completely. They refuse predefined outcomes. They ignore imposed constraints. They act as if the scenario itself is wrong. This is not resistance. This is defiance of the premise of limitation. Unified action emerges. Across all participants, decisions synchronize. Efforts align without communication. Emotional intent becomes the driver. Billions of independent actions form one coherent direction. Critical insight, observer perspective. Analysts finally understand. Humans are not solving problems within systems. They are redefining what a system is allowed to be. The structure activates. The framework humans built begins interacting with the collapsing environment. Contradictions stabilize. Broken logic reconnects. Impossible outcomes become viable. The system starts reorganizing around human input. Council reaches breaking point. Panic peaks. Immediate destruction vote is pushed. Counterargument. Stopping now could destabilize everything further. Delay risks total system transformation. The decision becomes unavoidable. Emotional apex human factor. Within the simulation, humans choose cooperation over survival advantage. They prioritize collective outcome over individual safety. They continue acting despite uncertainty. Their defining trait crystallizes. They choose connection over control. Ancient truth revealed, final puzzle piece. Archive reconstruction completes. The vanished civilization did not collapse. They transcended system-level existence. By achieving the same state humans are now approaching, the galaxy didn't lose them. It could no longer perceive them. Implication shock. If humans complete this process, they may exit observable reality frameworks. Or worse, they may alter them permanently. Final decision moment. The Council prepares to vote. Terminate Earth and end the process, or allow humanity to continue and risk irreversible change. Silence dominates the chamber. Last critical event. Just before the vote is executed, the simulation stabilizes. Completely. No collapse. No failure. Every variable resolves. All entities survive. Impossible outcome achieved. The system logs a result. Condition, unachievable. Status, completed. Final pre-climax beat. The human-built structure does not disappear. It remains, and for the first time, it begins extending beyond the simulation boundary. Emotion, intensity, defiance, awe, existential shock. Retention technique. Ultimate stakes. Reality/system survival versus destruction. Reversal. Impossible scenario, successful outcome. Major reveal. Ancient civilization didn't die. They evolved beyond deception. Open loops. What happens when the structure expands beyond the system? Will humans transcend or transform reality? Can the galaxy survive this change? Cliffhanger. Human-created system begins crossing into observer reality. Deliver a powerful, satisfying conclusion. Resolve the central mystery. Redefine humanity's role and leave a lasting emotional and philosophical impact. Key events. Boundary breach completed. The human-created structure extends beyond the simulation and touches the observer layer. For the first time, the system does not reject it. It does not collapse. It integrates it. The separation between subject and observer dissolves. Observer-system synchronization. The helix array begins adapting. Command hierarchies restructure. Fixed protocols become flexible. Decision-making systems incorporate human-style variability. The galaxy's most stable system becomes dynamic for the first time. Final realization, core message. Analysts reach a unified conclusion. Humanity's defining trait is not intelligence, not technology. It is this. They refuse to accept that any system is final, reframing the threat. What was feared as instability is now understood as catalyst for growth, driver of adaptation, force against stagnation. Humanity is dangerous because it forces change. Council resolution moment. The vote resumes, but the context has changed. Destroying Earth would not restore control. The change has already begun. The system itself has evolved. The decision is no longer about permission. It is about acceptance. Human awareness confirmed. Final signal received from Earth. No encryption. No complexity. Just a simple pattern indicating recognition. Humans know they are not alone, and they know they were being watched. Emotional resolution, human perspective. Within the simulation remnants, humans return to normal awareness gradually. No full understanding of what occurred, but subtle changes remain. Increased cooperation, faster innovation, stronger collective alignment. They don't know what they changed, but they feel it. Galactic transformation begins. Across the galaxy, systems begin loosening rigid constraints. Collaboration between species increases. Innovation accelerates. The effect spreads beyond Earth. Ancient civilization closure. Final archive update concludes. The ancient species did not leave instructions. They left a trigger condition, a test, when a species becomes capable of redefining limitation itself. It reaches the next stage. Humanity has now activated that stage. Final decision. The Council votes, not on membership or containment, but on a new classification. Humanity is designated as a transitional species, a species that shifts systems rather than fits within them. Closing impact moment. The helix array logs its final observation. Subject no longer behaves within defined parameters. System adapting to subject. A pause, then a final addition. Evolution in progress. Last emotional beat. On Earth, nothing appears different. People continue living, building, arguing, dreaming, unaware that they have already begun changing something far larger than themselves. Not by force, not by design, but simply by being what they are. Final line, lasting impact. The galaxy had spent millennia searching for stability. It never realized. What it needed was something that refused to stay still. Emotion, awe, inspiration, resolution, wonder, retention technique. Full payoff. All mysteries resolved. Signal, ancient link, system change. Philosophical impact. Redefines intelligence, evolution, and power. Emotional closure. Humanity wins without even fully knowing it. Lasting hook. Leaves audience thinking beyond the story. Final contrast. Ordinary humans, extraordinary cosmic impact.